Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our first Project Management Ready book talk. Today, we are exploring the world of project management through the lens of Nelson Ortiz's book, The Art of Project Management Strategies from Swin's Art of War. I am thrilled to have Nelson Ortiz, a project management professional, as our speaker today. With over 25 years of experience in the field, sorry, Nelson brings a wealth of knowledge and expertise to this discussion. Um, I am the founder of Project Management Ready. Um, sorry, it's a community of practice that empowers youth with project management. Thank you so much for joining us today. Um, Before we continue, I would like to say if you are a K-12 student joining us this evening from uh, right now or from the recording, we welcome you to Project Management Ready. This is a community for you. I myself am an incoming high school student. And like you, I would also like to explore with you how we can use project management to to empower our life and make positive changes to the world around us. Um, uh, so yeah, and like you must be wondering, like as a middle school or high school or even elementary school student, how is like project management relevant to us? The answer I would say is connected to the definition of the concept project. According to Project Management Institutes, a project is a temporary endeavor with a beginning and an end, and it creates unique products, services, or results at the end. And based on this definition, our life itself is a project, and projects are everywhere in our life. Um, so learning project management can make our life better and make others' life better and simpler. And that is the mission of Project Management Ready. Again, my friends, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us.
Mhm.
Um, yeah. So now it is my great pleasure to um, uh, hold on. Oh, let's go over the agenda real quick. So, well, first we'll get to know the author, and then he will do his book presentation, and then we'll have a discussion, and um, one free PDU is provided, by the way, and our author will go more in depth about that. Um, so yeah, now it is my great pleasure uh to introduce our book and speaker for today. The title of our book talk is The Art of Project Management, Strategies from Swin's Art of War, published in 2023. The author is Mr. Nelson Ortiz. Mr. Ortiz is a professional consultant in the areas of business analysis, project management, and technology. He is a professor at several university systems in and outside Puerto Rico for master's degrees candidates in project management. Mr. Ortiz is a former member of the Board of Directors 2010 to 2011, Puerto Rico chapter of the Project Management Institute, um, as Vice President of Education and Certification. Mr. Ortiz holds a Bachelor of Science in Business and E-commerce and a Master of Education in Adult and Online Learning. In addition, he is pursuing a doctoral degree in project management. Mr. Ortiz holds multiple professional certifications, including PMI issued PMP, project management professional, PBA, project in business analysis, OMP, risk management professional, and DASM, discipline agile scrum master, etc. It is my big honor that Mr. Ortiz agreed to be the inaugural speaker for the book talk series. Before I turn over to Mr. Ortiz for his book presentation, sorry, I'd like to use my privilege as the host to ask Mr. Ortiz the first question. How did project management come to your life? And at which point in your life did you decide to write this book? Like, what was your inspiration? Mr. Ortiz, please.
Thank you, Evelyn. Thank you all for your attendance here. I am so proud of Evelyn's work. I was very surprised when she reached out. She found my book. Technically, it's published since the 24th of March, but I have not officially announced it yet. I haven't made my official event. So technically, Evelyn, this is the first event that I talk publicly about my book. So this is awesome. The book is available in Amazon. So I imagine Evelyn did a search for recent books in project management and found me somewhere with her social networking and browsing skills. So it's a great to see a program such as this coming from the heart and soul of a young lady such as Evelyn, with the support, of community, parents, and so forth. So I could not find a way to say no. It's not that I didn't want to be here. I wanted to be here, but even if I had something else, I would have made the exception to be here. So like part of the screen projection says empowering youth, PM ready. And she is PM ready certified. PMI recently launched a certification in project management for youth. So she is ready, set to go and inspire other youth to participate. So I just find a lot of positive energy in this effort. So Evelyn, back to your questions. How did I end up in project management? By accident. It's not like I wanted to study project management. It's not like I had it in my career path or as young as you starting to envision myself in this field of work. I was working at a bank and projects were just popping up all over the place. And it just came out to happen that there was an interest in the organization in formalizing the project management culture. So I was there. I remember back in 2008 when I got my PMP certification, I was actually forced to get certified, Evelyn. Our employer said, all of you, here's your PMP exam prep training, and you have to get certified by the end of the year, or you will not have a performance bonus. So I took that as my motivation to get certified. And even though I was involved for projects for a couple of years at that point, going into the formality of understanding the PIM book at that time, which was the 4th edition, and seeing the structure and how all this makes sense and how I would have benefited from understanding this framework earlier in my career when I was working projects by accident. So as time passed, I enjoyed my profession. I completed several other certifications. Near that same time, I completed my master's degree in education and adult learning, and I combined education and project management. And that's where I come today. I enjoy working, but I enjoy more teaching. And that's part of my life fulfillment. So one way to reach others is through writing. So I've always enjoyed Asian text in philosophy, etc. And I've read The Art of War several times. And I've always said, if I ever have the time, I will publish a book aligning part of the teachings in The Art of War by Sun Tzu to project management. So that time came. That time came at the beginning of the year. I lowered some of my work hours and say, I'm going to push forward. I want to put this out in the first quarter. And here it is. I published it in English and translated in Spanish. So technically I have 2 books because they have their own ISBN numbers. So this will help us reach other audiences. And part of the goal, Evelyn, and you open the door for me in this sense, is that I wanted to include in my inventory of courses and seminars a seminar around my book. So I'm still building that, a little 3-hour seminar workshop around that. And I don't have to go buy some other book as the reference material. I'll use my own book and I can autograph copies. So it's the first time I publish anything formally. So this is just awesome. So back to your questions. I got into project management by accident, and I decided to publish this book as a way of me expanding my reach of being able to influence others with my experiences and the content that I can have as an educator.
Okay. So great. Wow. Well, who did you imagine as your audience of your book?
So initially, it's not like everybody's out searching to read The Art of War. You know, you either run into this publication because somebody talked to you about it, or taking some sort of history classes or classes around philosophy, etc. So initially, the working adult professional that it performs in the project management area. I had no idea that I was going to reach you, Evelyn, and the audience are universal. The project management is a universal skill. There are a lot of people like myself that are project management professionals, not just because of the PMP certification, but our primary job is around project management. But there are others who may work in different industries and might want to learn about the skill set that's around project management. So that was that's my initial audience, and hopefully inspire others to reach the profession through some of these teachings. One of my other jobs, I'm a Protestant pastor here in Puerto Rico, and I was surprised of many colleagues of pastors who have asked for a copy of my book. And again, they just found out because I put it in my Facebook and their personal contacts. And some of them are already posting excerpts in their social networks about how they can apply these skills into their own church environments and their social community projects. So I think I underestimated the reach, and you yourself are part of that testimonial that once you get published, the sky's not the limit, since we know there's a more expanded universe out there.
Thank you. Do you want to talk about, do you want to start your book presentation now?
But of course. So I see Charles already shared the ISBN number for the English version. So I'm gonna type real quick here the title of the book. So you're already there. You could probably get it faster for me. So Charles is my technical assistant today. So just searching Amazon for Arte de la Gestión de Proyectos. It has the same color and artwork for the cover, just in Spanish. If not, later on, I can get that for you. Evelyn mentioned something very important here, since I know there's part of Silver Springs chapter folks present, that if you need that 1 hour PDU, you just send me an email to info@nelsonortiz.online, and I'll send you that PDF certificate of participation, because I know how meaningful PDUs are for all PMPs and other PMI certifications that we may have. So the art of project management, what was my line of thought at the beginning of the year, Evelyn? I was like, I have the idea, now I have the time. How do I sit down and organize this? So if I'm going to talk about or reference an original book, such as The Art of War, I pulled out my PDF copy of that book and started rereading it, and then noticed, hey, why don't I just keep the order and the titles of the chapters of Sun Tzu and get the general idea of the teachings there, and then immediately get into and dive into applications. There's an interesting concept in education that when you teach youth, you use a lot of storytelling, right? And usually that storytelling is with fictional characters, and you have a more moral of the story embedded into the teaching. So storytelling is also an adult learning teaching technique. The difference is that my storytelling is based on my life experiences. And the value of that is, while I'm connecting here, I see a fellow participant here called Jose Mendez, who's a great friend of mine, saw the post, he's here today. And if I speak of my experiences and Jose is able to connect with my experience, he's going to be able to say, hey, I can apply what Nelson did to his experience to my own experience. So storytelling comes as a strong approach to teach, synthesize, and create this connection between instructors and learners that make it fun. So Charles, again, you are awesome. You have both links there. And Jan asked me for if I'm plan to translate it to another language. Well, I have to be honest, no, but now I didn't expect to be here with Evelyn either, so I cannot underestimate the possibilities. So if it can, it's just a matter of dedicating the time, and I'm seeing that this is it's becoming something very fruitful here. So I have a copy here, but if anybody has a quick question they might want to add, or just just interrupt me at any time. I made the book simple to very short. And even it has sections so you can write notes. I like to put notes in books that I'm reading, so I put that into the original text. Is also a very quick and fun literature. So when you start talking about The Art of War, the first title, laying out the plans. Think the word plan, Evelyn, it's like one of the most common words in project management. The project management plan, the schedule management plan, the quality management plan, the cost management plan. So it's fundamental. In project management, we have a life cycle that starts with initiation, continues with planning, goes on with execution, then parallel with monitoring and control, and then the closing phase. So it is essential to have a plan. So like yourself, you envision pmready.org, you created the website, you've created learning content because you're focused on empowering you. So you laid out a solid plan. So in Sun Tzu's writing, that is essential. How do we make sure that we have the adequate plans to make us reach our goals, whichever they may be? So what do you think about that, Evelyn? Laying out the plans as an essential step to start any initiative.
Fascinating. Yeah. Yeah, laying out the plan. Yeah, it's really, yeah, like I feel like for me, like it really works when I schedule stuff, and like I schedule stuff beforehand, and I really have an idea of what I want to do. Like what I'm envisioning. And yeah. So the Art of War is known for its insights into warfare and military strategy. Can you share some ways in which this ancient text can be adapted to the field of project management?
Yes. So let's go now to chapter 2, the title, which means waging war. And that's your question is very convenient in timing. So you lay out the plans is to be ready for execution, but then we have to go and execute the plan. Are plans perfect? No. Will plans change? They will always have some sort of degree of change. There are different modalities nowadays to approach projects. So, when we're going to engage in achieving those goals, we're waging the war not between countries, but between what's planned and how you will actually get there. So waging war, which is chapter 2, focus our literature, our lecture in saying, okay, let's start working with the plan. Let's not stay in something that I've named analysis paralysis. That I stay stuck planning what to do, but I don't move one step. If I stay alone, I won't make any type of progress. Even the basic sciences of physics say that every action has a reaction. So if we make a plan, let's start executing the plan, and the execution of the plan will generate results. So there are other chapters there. So strategic attacks, tactical dispositions, use of energies, weakness and strengths. It's analyzing the whole context of where our projects operate. So the audience that you appeal to, which is youth, which would be some of their own context. Some of their context would be, hey, the science fair project, or you have to do some sort of community service hours, and we have to create a work plan to work towards that. So this curriculum focus on youth is just simply awesome, because you already have the energy, and I talk within my writing about the use of energy. You have the energy of youth with you. Now we're giving you some additional skill sets with the PM Ready certification, and anything that can be of value to help you understand better and be a better youth in executing your projects, your life projects. That would just positions you better for success towards the future. I have a personal phrase that when I'm about to leave a course or something, I don't wish people luck. I wish people success, because people who plan are more prepared for success for those who do not plan. So if you are making a plan, I wish you success. I don't wish you luck. I don't mind bringing luck just in case. That's why luck is called luck. But if we work towards our goals and we plan accordingly, surely we have higher odds of meeting those goals. So even though the Sun Tzu text is very focused on military techniques, there's a specific concept or knowledge area in the playbook called stakeholder engagement, stakeholder management. It's dealing with the people around us. So there will always be forces in favor of projects. There will be forces against the projects. And we're not engaging in a physical war to do harm, but we're engaging in the diplomacy of getting things done. Sometimes I've been asked, how will you define a project manager? Somebody who gets things done. Obviously, that's oversimplifying it, but the idea behind that is, hey, we have to move our pieces. We have to shift around. We have to move what we plan to do according to plan to see how we progress, and how do we get nearer to our goal. There's a chapter also called classification of the terrain that talks about the context, the organizations. When a project manager who is involved in consulting, they get more exposure to different work settings because they change from client to client. So one predetermined formula or one formula of execution that was successful may not guarantee success in another environment. We always have to keep in mind that environment. For example, Jan and I recently spoke about, hey, how can we reach Spanish-speaking audiences? We have to contextualize our efforts to that environment, to the audience in that environment. And all of those who practice the profession for over 10 years are very familiar how PMI has increased its focus on stakeholder management and stakeholder engagement. And my book is basically surrounding all of those concepts of stakeholder engagement in difficult settings. I had somebody, Evelyn, recently asked me, I want to know who is your enemy in your book? It's very abstract. I was intentionally abstract. I don't have a named enemy. I created this so we can face the difficulties and challenges in any type of project, in any type of context. So it's cool to have. It's a quick read. It was intentional. It was in simplified English, so people can actually read this in less than one day and react to it. Because sometimes when I've had long books, I'm chugging down a chapter here, chapter there, and I don't necessarily get the whole perspective immediately, but until I complete the book. So this is such a quick read that, we can have you get a copy today and drink a coffee tomorrow and talk about it and react. And there's a level of abstract intent in there that you will reach your own conclusions, and you probably start saying things that I'll say, hey, I didn't consider that for my book. I guess I need to start working on a second edition and consider some of the insights that people are giving me. So I don't want to leave you without asking additional questions, Evelyn. So if anybody has another question, they don't want to wait to the end, just put it in the chat, and Evelyn and you can moderate that.
Yes. Okay. Next question. Well, as we know, risk planning is an essential component in the planning process group, but many people tend to overlook risk planning. How does your book explore the concepts of risk assessment, mitigation, and contingency planning through the lens of the art of war?
Nice question, Evelyn. So there's a chapter called Variation in Tactics. So that's like saying mitigation, because you may have one way of initially responding to a risk event, but you should always prepare what we call contingent responses, right? If plan A fails, plan B should be there. So there's a people focus around risk management, how we empower people. In the initial chapters, we talk about team building. Having the proper army is translated here to having the proper team, and having the proper team with the proper skills positions us for better project execution. So that's a very general answer right there. But coming back to your question, focused on risk, I've always stated that risk management is like a taboo in project management. You think risk, you think something is bad. But when you go to the basic definition of risk, it's just an event that can probably occur, and if it occurs, it will have an impact. There's a space for positive outcomes there, and the project management body of knowledge takes us to the point of time that helps us understand that risk management has different responses to the different situations that may occur. So risk can be bad, those are threats. Risk can be good, those are opportunities. So what's essential is educating people to understand that risk is a much broader concept that they might understand, and they need to work to have a better understanding. So that's actually like empowering and training an army, giving them the appropriate skills, giving them the appropriate tools and techniques, which is part of the jargon of the PEAM book, so they can be more efficient at what they do every day in their project execution. So yeah, risk management is essential. I've always said that risk is always going to be inherent to project management, because as you define at the beginning of our conversation, a project is a temporary endeavor that will produce some product, service, or result. So, and the word unique is used in that description. A unique product, service, or result. Something that's unique will always come with a certain degree of uncertainty, and uncertainty is embedding risk. So the better education we receive around risk management will help us position us. So going back, how we tie that back to the book, classifications of terrain. How do we manage certain risks in certain environments? Variation of tactics, I mentioned earlier. The maneuvering, you can't just stay static. And I live in the Caribbean. We just started tomorrow we officially start hurricane season. So I can just not address my family emergency plan. I have to recognize the possibility of an adverse risk to occur, and I always have to make sure that I can maneuver around those situations, preparing my family for that sense. How does that sound, Evelyn?
Yes. Uh, yeah, wow. Yes. Um, I agree. So, um, well, yeah. Fighting a war has, well, actually, does, uh, does the audience have any questions to ask before I move on to, um, the next question? Okay.
Okay, I have
Um,
this one in the chat right there, if you want to
yeah.
read it.
Yeah, okay. So Jose Mendez says, which concepts from the art of war can you apply to scope, schedule, and cost management?
Nice question. Thank you, Jose. So let's address scope. Scope usually has, well, not usually, scope has two perspectives: product scope and project scope. Product scope is what we want to achieve, the unique product, service, or result. That defines the what we want to achieve. Project scope is the how. How do we achieve that? So the first chapter, laying out the plans, is how to define the specific activities, efforts, necessary activity and efforts to achieve that plan, that goal, that product. So scope and schedule, basically, Jose is describing here a concept that those that have been around for a while, we know as the triple constraint: cost, time, and quality slash scope. So a quick example: if you want to build 3 miles of road in 3 months for $3 million, at month 2, what's expected, assuming a linear performance? At month 2, we expect to have completed 2 miles at a cost of 2 million. So we had to define a plan, lay out the plan before we start executing. And while we execute, we need to do our strategic attacks. Chapter 3. It's okay, what do I need to do today? And if those events can be affected by something, example, risk management, an improbable event comes up, an issue, a non-expected issue comes up, how do I adjust to make sure that I keep scope aligned? And cost is embedded in everything. You know, sustaining an army has its cost. Publishing a book has its cost. Educating youth as yourself voluntarily, you have some certain costs that, you know, your family is supporting you. You know, websites are not free. Educational tools are not free. Even getting certified with PMI for a youth certification is not free. So how do we manage the use of the funds that we have? And I don't know you enough to know how much you or your family and those that are blessed to know you have supported you and say, this is how much I've spent. But I'm sure that what you've achieved today is probably not as half of what you were planning to do at the beginning. And as time progressed, you adapted your plan, adapted to reality, and adapted to the different resources. So even though you won't find some explicit techniques for some of the knowledge areas, the concepts are very general and can be applied to the question that Jose has addressed. There's another question there, Evelyn. Take a lecture at it from Yan. You may know her very well.
Okay. Well, okay. So Yen says, earlier you talked about risks and uncertainties. The art of war is about military strategies. Would you say, for a battle project, which project management methodology applies more, agile or traditional, or a combination of both?
Nice question. Super. So let would in one of the chapters, is tactical dispositions and knowing what you have at hand, right? So in project management, we usually reference a concept called your toolbox. It's like it's an invisible set of tools that you have, which is the knowledge that you acquire. So yes, there's the best of both worlds. You either go to predictive project management, which is traditional, or you go to adaptive project management, which is agile, or a combination of both, which today is known as hybrid project management. So I just have to know what tools I have in my toolbox. I have to make a disclaimer. I have no military experience beyond playing Call of Duty. So I do that. am not no formal education, but always interested and always learning about it. But things that I've read over, we have different strategies. This is like playing chess. You know what each piece of the chessboard does, but your strategy will depend on what you initially planned out to do and how your opponent reacts. And similar to many sports, you train heavily, you work on developing the skills, you work on practicing, you go to practice games with inclusive with other opponents in friendly encounters. But the day that the formal game comes and we have to play, we have to adjust to that plan. There's a specific practice in Agile called Scrum. That's interesting because Scrum is a derivative from the United Kingdom, and the word Scrum comes from a sports event, rugby, which many people name it as the predecessor to American football. In American football, we have that meeting between plays, which we call the huddle. And that meeting between plays that we call in American football the huddle is what in rugby is called the scrum. It's a short and quick meeting to adjust and adapt and change our game plan. We are the same athletes. We have the same physical condition. We already have the previous knowledge that we need to use in that sport, but we adapt. So in many organizations, sometimes we're conditioned. No, this is the SOP, the standard operating procedure to execute project management, and those are the instructions we need to follow. But even PMI has evolved in its focus on project management and opening our eyes to Agile and the combination of these concepts. And not only that, but also the not creating anymore a division between projects and operations, but seeing how seamless projects and operations should be. And if you go into discipline Agile, you just find some phenomenal content there that all of a sudden we were taught to be fragmental or fractional, but once we see project management as an integrative perspective, I cannot leave tools out. The more tools I learn, the more tools I have, and the more tools I can use. So I will have to go with a very diplomatic response, a combination of both to satisfy the both sides of the pieces. But at the end of the day, the more skills that you and other youth, Evelyn, have at hand and the earliest as possible will better position you for success in your life projects.
Yeah. Okay. Fascinating. So, okay. When I studied for my project management ready certification, I was puzzled by the relations between change management and project management. How would you define these two concepts? Does Art of War provide any insights about the relationships?
Explicitly, no, but the focus of the Art of War is having more tools so you can react in the field of play. In this case, war, in my application, is in projects. Projects imply by nature change, because if you're going to produce something that's unique, it's something that is a derivative of something existing or is something totally new. So even if it's a derivative, it's not the same. You don't end up with the same product, but a variation of what you initially wanted to change. So what is the status of war? Either I want to achieve a geographical position, or I want to position myself in some way of sort. So change management in project management, because change we have in all sorts of life. And in operational perspectives, change management can be training people to change a mindset. And you need a project for that. You have human resources department to work with professional development plans and so forth. So change, the projects by itself produce something that is change. How people use it is also another important element. How we maneuver ourselves, like one of the chapters, maneuvering, how do we move here from there and keeping people motivated. If we ever seen some sort of action movie, and you see somebody who's the underdog, you will probably see something like, hey, or if you, I'm a very hardcore Star Wars fan. So it's like, when Obi-Wan Kenobi is telling Anakin, hey, I have the higher ground. I am better positioned here. Stop right now. Let's recognize your defeat, or to the moment your situation, because the way I'm positioned now, the outcome is not going to be favorable. So sometimes we do face challenging projects, and we should know when to stop certain projects, when to continue others, when to adjust and adapt. And since Jan shared the question about Agile, one of the main differences of Agile is accepting change. So that's a shift in culture. That's like an emerging technology in military. You can't just put the technology in front of the people and assume they will know how to use it. You need to teach them how to use it. So change management is implied in general in my book throughout the different chapters, particularly dealing with people, preparing people not for war, but for change, and change will help them position themselves for success in their projects.
Okay. Okay, more questions in the chat. What do you hope readers who are PMI certified professional will take away from your book? Yeah, we'll get to the second question later.
So in my book, I recognize that I stretch out some concepts. So it's like I have like 3 disclaimers written in there. In this chapter, I know that I stretched out the concept. For example, there's a particular chapter that I'm going to read you the chapter title, and I want to see your reaction. I want to see and hear your reaction, because you're very expressive. So the use of spies. Evelyn, explain what you will understand as the use of spies in project management. I will then follow up with my answer.
The use of spies.
If I put you on the spot, right?
The use of spies.
Yeah, that was my first reaction when I was planning on what do I write in this chapter. So I just positioned to you in helping accommodate my next statement. When I go and analyze the element of what is a spy used for, to get information. So this chapter, using the ancient text of Sun Tzu, The Art of War, talks about different types of spies. We have people who can give us inside information about the organization. As a project management consultant, and I engage a new client, the first thing I need to do, or amongst the first things I need to do, is understand organizational context. So I need to meet with people from different position levels in the organization to better understand the people. Sometimes our projects are geared to automating or improving, optimizing a process. I have to understand what the executive expects out of the project. I also need to know what the third shift employee at 3 a.m. in the morning is doing with certain equipment. So the more information I have, the better position I am to make decisions. So in that case, the use of this book for PMI certifications, I promote it as a fun read. Some concepts are stretched out, but it allows you to be creative and identify your own experiences People are writing back, hey, I had an experience similar to yours or similar to the concept in the book. And that just makes it awesome, because this is not a manual. This is not a step-by-step guide. This is a fun literature. Many people appreciate this, the art of war, and are probably just very curious about what I did there, and they find this creative application. And I just hope they enjoy it. And if there's anything that that can add value, well, and they can share that knowledge back with me, we'll just make a better world altogether.
Okay. Yeah, we have a yeah. So, and the other question that was asked was, what do you hope students like me will take away from your book?
Will you? I will add to what I already said. The
Yeah.
inspiration to engage project management, to see it as a universal skill that you somehow, somewhere have already done it in school projects. But I can ask you, and if how more efficient have you been in school projects before knowing about project management and after knowing about project management, and inclusively after being certified? You surely have a different perspective than you had before you put a deep dive in here. So
Definitely.
if my book can inspire, like, oh, this is cool, I can use this in my sports, I can use this in my science fair project, hey, in my church setting, hey, we can do a community service initiative and get some skills out of that. This won't be a manual that will make you an effective project manager and execution, but it'll give you tips that we can relate to with real life experiences and synthesize that learning process there. In the chat, Jan also shared the comment, hey, this helps us engage all types of stakeholders. Yes. You know, there are difficult stakeholders, there are more easygoing stakeholders, and you have to do your stakeholder engagement plan, how to deal with them. That's maneuvering, that's using your skills, that's using the tools and techniques you have, and to adapt to the different settings with the different people. Sometimes you may have the same set of people and you change the setting, and even then you have to see how we engage, because maybe I move to another project in another context and I feel less comfortable. So through a stakeholder engagement analysis, I can see which stakeholders that I may have known for several years, we've been engaging in project battles, to say it that way, 20 years, but now all of a sudden we have a more challenging project ahead of us. It doesn't mean that if we've been successful in the past, that success is guaranteed. And it doesn't mean that our performance as individuals and teams in the past will be the same today. So yes, different, it helps us engage different stakeholders in different settings. Jan used the word creative, so I really I like that way to approach that definition. And yeah, surely this is all for grabs. Like I mentioned, there's a degree of abstract in the book to help us just reach conclusions that I didn't even have the explicit intent in the book, but through reading and application, we can share that knowledge.
Yes. Okay. So, so as a young individual, also passionate about project management, I'm particularly interested in empowering fellow youth. Nelson, how do you believe project management learning can empower the lives of young people?
There's, when we talk about brain-based learning, there's simplify this explanation. You know, certain neurons, when they're stimulated, it generates energy and stimulates other areas of our brain. So that's why it was sometimes when you combine exercise with education and proper nutrition, that creates the appropriate stimulus to continue learning. When you don't have proper nutrition or proper exercise, your own learning possibilities are diminished. So I'm trying to be metaphoric here, right? In the sense that if I can give you additional stimulation to say, hey, if Nelson was able to creatively apply this project management experiences to an ancient text such as the Art of War, I can apply this to my general settings of everyday life.
Mhm.
So if I have to bet on the procession, the potential of the future leaders, empowering the youth, I will also say you're empowering the future leaders of our geographical settings. So if I could just inspire you to read more about project management,
Mhm.
great. If we can then work together in any type of community impact projects, even better. But there's two concepts in education, Evelyn, and
Mhm.
when teachers are engaging with youth, there's a cognitive intent. Cognitive intent is that your mindset is transformed. You
Mhm.
change the way of thinking,
Yes.
but there's also a behavioral intent that I want to change your how you behave, your, in this case, professional conduct in project management. So if I give you more skills, this should be improved performance. Sometimes in life, you can just come to this seminar and say, oh, wow, Nelson said something that changed my state of mind. And it
Mhm.
stays there. Say, hey, I'm going to have to read a little bit more of this. Oh, this experience that Nelson shared, it's something that I can apply. Okay, this is something I can do. So some people have a more cognitive benefit of the educational process, others more behavioral, others will have a bit of both. And then there's a third element in education called constructionism, that together we build knowledge. And that's what I was impressed with your project, your educational project, PM Ready. You when you sell it to me, you say this is my learning community. You're saying that I'm part of something, I'm part of some place, even though it's in a virtual setting right now, but I'm part of something in some place that helps me learn and that I can help others learn. So
Mhm.
kudos to you, Evelyn, in this project. This is just simply awesome.
Thank you so much. Um, is um, is anyone in the audience a PMI certified professional? Um, s-
I know
uh,
two PMPs here. I have another friend apart from Jose Mendez. Now I have Jose Juan Fuentes is also a personal friend and connected. And they're maybe I think they're either here to say hi or they're here because they want that free PDU. What do you think?
uh, wow. Okay. So, um, well, what are some key skills or qualities that young project managers should focus on developing to, excel in their roles?
I will give when you went into my LinkedIn profile, because obviously with the bio that you read at the beginning, uh,
Mhm.
you read over my profile and you saw that I have several certifications in project management, mostly PMI, but several others. So with that, Evelyn, I can say that I account for the technical credentials to say that I'm somewhat an expert in project management, right?
Mhm.
But if when people ask me what has been that skill that has made me a successful project manager, my answer is not in the technical skills. It has been in the people skills. How do I relate with others? So I would say, hey, that relational piece, which PMI focuses as the stakeholder management, that's
Mhm.
essential. There's another phrase that I'm going to say, and I'm not I've caught you off guard twice tonight. So one third time wouldn't hurt, right? And this is for everybody to react. When you hear it the first time, you might have a specific reaction, but then I'll give an explanation. And this is my phrase, Evelyn. Projects are wonderful until you get people involved. Projects are wonderful until people are involved. The first reaction would be, what are you saying, Nelson, that once I get people involved, this is things are going to fall out of hand, things are not going to go well. My intent, first of all, is to catch your attention, because when you hear the phrase, some people will actually automatically react with criticism, and that's okay, because will generate critical reflection. So what I'm saying is that sometimes paper can hold anything that you write on it, and sometimes on paper projects have what many people call the Disney effect. Everything is marvelous, everything is wonderful. But when it comes to execution, I think that the art of project management, I could probably rephrase that to the art of managing stakeholders in project management. That will make me more successful. What's a basic or paraphrase definition of synergy? Is that the results of working together will always be more than the sum of individual efforts. So I can burn out myself trying to pull out the top performing project and get all the credit for myself, but I'll reach it quicker and better in teamwork. So I will say you focus on those people skills, how to apply those people skills in ever-changing environments. Yeah, teamwork, that's the key word. And let's get PM ready since as young as possible, and we'll have better results down the road.
Yeah. Wonderful. So, does the PMI professionals in the chat have any advice to share to the youth?
Don't be shy. Let's share.
Yeah, don't be shy.
Jan has her hand up, so first turn to Jan.
Okay.
Hi, Evelyn. Thank you so much, Nelson, for this wonderful book talk. I don't have a advice for youth because I consider myself as a learner of project management. I got certified in 2020, just 3 years ago. So I just want to comment that learning could be fun and could be more fun when we learn together. So as Mr. Ortiz, commented on your project, yeah, this is a learning community. No matter who we are, there's always space for us to learn. And then I personally, myself is an educator, so I know it is important to build engaging community for the best learning outcomes. So I just want to make comment here. Good job. And then I'm proud to be part of this new learning community.
I see a great comment here by Sean. Echoing Nelson, I think it's important to get PM mentality and framework in place as young as possible, as early as possible. All those who are here as PMP, we didn't start out as PMPs. We started getting exposed to projects, most probably as technical resource executing project tasks. And then, our performance was seen as such that somebody invested time and resources in getting us into project management. So what I want to get here is maturity. And I start as an individual or as an organization, and the project management maturity, and being redundant, matures over time. So the key word here, going in with a tag team effort here with Sean, is the earlier you start with project management skills, the earlier you will mature in the stages of project management maturity. So Jan, I don't want to work for Evelyn in the future. She started as a younger project manager. She's going to be, knife and boot camp ready and with all these skills. I started around having 27 years of age, working in projects, and she started around 13. No, she's going to be an awesome professional going forward. But that's necessary because life's challenges, humanity's challenges will get more complicated. And we need people like Evelyn and peers to be better prepared for those projects and life engagements.
So if no one else has anything to say, then I'll conclude this wonderful book talk. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us today for our insightful book talk on The Art of Project Management Strategies from Sun Tzu's Art of War by Mr. Nelson Ortiz. We hope you found inspiration and valuable insights on managing projects effectively. As we conclude this event, we would like to share an exciting upcoming book talk with you. On Wednesday, August 23rd from 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern State Time, we will be hosting another engaging session titled Great Meetings Build Great Teams. In this upcoming book talk, we will have the pleasure of hosting speakers Rich Maltzman and Jim Stewart, who will guide us through the transformative power of well-run meetings in building cohesive and successful project teams. If you aspire to have a happier, more productive project teams, this event is not to be missed. Mark your calendars and join us on August 23rd for an interactive discussion that will equip you with the tools and techniques to conduct effective meetings that drive team collaboration and success. Thank you once again for being a part of today's book talk, and we look forward to seeing you at our next event. Thank you.